Hey everyone, what's coming up next is a two-part video of an update of what's going on in our world. So after the video that you're watching now, check for the next one. You'll see it's the same title, just part 1 and 2. So hope you enjoy it and stay safe. Thanks. Hey everyone, it's Roger and Kim. And I'm sure you're happy to see her smiling face next to me, as am I.
And his face now smiling.
No, it's great to be together again. But we wanted to take some time and just kind of walk you through Kim's perspective of what actually happened and what she's still dealing with today, and but kind of give you a rundown of what's going on, how it all started, where we're at, where we're going, and go from there. So, I guess talk about how we got infected.
Sure. So what ended up happening was we went to a family gathering, and nothing unusual for us as things like that go. We did not wear masks when we went, nor did anybody else there. I think we kind of all feel this false sense of protection when we're with our family, even if it's extended family and things like that, and maybe even feel a little bit funny about wearing a mask in those situations. But so we did, and ended up that pretty much everybody there that hadn't already had COVID contracted it that day. And so and actually I already had COVID last year in February, so this is actually my second time. Completely different outcome, obviously, but they weren't testing then, so I don't have anything in writing, but I was sick for 2 weeks, and there's just no doubt about it that it was COVID.
And understand too that we don't blame anybody for any
Oh my
of this,
God, no. It
This
was our
is
fault.
Our fault.
Absolutely.
For being nonchalant as we were. And shame on us for not really protecting ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because we were quite frankly, we were ignorant.
And it could have happened anywhere.
It could have happened.
It could have happened absolutely anywhere. I mean, we were absolutely nonchalant pretty much across the board. It just happened that this was the night that it happened.
Right.
But it literally could have happened anywhere.
Absolutely.
It
could happen to anyone.
Yeah. And I don't think that we could have understood the potential ramifications of what we were doing until it actually happened to us or somebody that we loved. And I think that's kind of the whole point of doing this. Right. Is, we know that we're not in the minority. We know that most people were behaving just like we were. You wear your mask when you have to wear them. You kind of go to do what you got to do. But we didn't really understand, for a relatively healthy person, that it was literally a life and death situation.
So what we really attribute to our decision of going to the hospital, believe it or not, was an oxygen sensor that Kim has. Where is that? Little oxygen sensor. You put it on your finger, and it tells the saturation of oxygen, tells you your heartbeat. And
it's $12.50 in case anybody's concerned about the price.
Right.
Worth the investment for your life.
We were told about the oxygen sensor from my mother. We were told about the oxygen sensor from a nurse we had a virtual call with. And
right after we first got tested positive.
Right after we tested
positive.
I
knew I wasn't feeling well, and I wanted some prescriptions. Because again, when I was sick in February, they had given me some steroids and some antibiotics, and that helped. So that's really all I was kind of looking for, and that is what she gave me. But she also recommended that I get this O2 sensor. Thank God, because that literally saved my life.
Yeah,
that's not an exaggeration, not even remotely.
So the first day, we take you to the hospital, and
let's roll back just a second. So the first day I got the O2 sensor, the nurse had said, you want to make sure it stays over 90, and if it doesn't, you should go into the hospital. So the first day, I was probably around 85, 90, And I thought, it's close enough. That was a huge mistake. Like literally, if you're having breathing issues and you're normally a healthy person and your O2 level goes below 90, go to the hospital.
No matter how you feel.
No matter how you feel. Let them tell you
you're in
otherwise. But you're in trouble. You are absolutely in trouble. So, I deal with it. The next day, Roger went to go, I'm not even sure, he went to go grab
grocery
something.
shopping.
Yeah. And he came back and I've been monitoring my O2 and it was down to 74. And I was like, we've got to go to the hospital now. Even that was too much for me to be able to be like, now we can just blow this off. So we go to the hospital and, you know, obviously with COVID, things are different there. So we do the intake, which is basically just taking your name and you know, phone number, whatever. It was information, it was no big deal. And then they sent me into the COVID waiting room. And obviously he couldn't stay. So he's thinking he'll see me in, 2-3 days and they'll give me some medicine and I'll be in my way. You know what I mean? No big deal. Nobody could have prepared us for what actually happened.
No.
Nobody. There's no, it was the furthest thing from our minds.
Yeah.
Gives me a little peck on the cheek. Love ya. I'll see ya.
Yeah.
Let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
And he goes off to do whatever he does. And I go in the waiting room. Waiting room has, I would say probably 6 or 7 people in it, just for the COVID waiting room alone, for the record. And we're waiting and waiting. And eventually they take us in. Well, they take me in for an x-ray. And then they eventually take me in to have like my, heart monitored or just with the stethoscope and the oxygen and things like that. And I was code red. It was done. Code red.
Yeah.
And
they
couldn't
took
take
time.
me. They couldn't take me. They
Right.
didn't have a spot for me.
Right.
So if anybody is thinking that these hospitals are not overwhelmed, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I had to go back out to the waiting room and sit there and wait. Now, granted, I was on oxygen, but it was only a little bit. And then, I don't know, so many hours later, I really wasn't paying attention then. And also at that time, I still didn't understand the gravity of what was going on. They take me back into ER, they get me a bed, and get me settled. I don't remember about, honestly, too much that happened while I was in the ER. Eventually, they got me up to the COVID unit, and that's when things really got real. So,
Let's take a break from it.
I need to take my breath.
Okay, we're back.
I went into the COVID unit. Again, very limited memory about what happened there.
Well, you went to COVID PCU first.
Right, I went to COVID PCU. I wasn't in ICU.
You weren't in ICU.
No, but
yet.
that's where the most important conversation I had the whole entire time I was in the hospital happened. They couldn't handle my oxygen needs in COVID PCU. So the nurse had a very candid conversation with me, and she said, first of all, you need to do whatever you have to do to stay conscious so that you can fight through this. Do whatever you can not to lose consciousness. And the other thing she said is, make sure you do whatever they tell you to do so that you can get better and stay off the ventilator. Now, of course, at this time, I don't understand any of this. I literally know nothing, And then I said, okay. And I knew the vent was bad. I didn't know how bad at the time, but I knew it was bad. And I said, what do I tell my husband? And she says, first of all, make sure that he knows that he needs to be available to you 24/7. If you need him to get here, he needs to be able to get here. And you know, tell him that it's serious. Is that the word she used?
Mm-hmm.
It's serious, but it's hopeful.
Right.
You know, and something about that conversation just stayed with me. And eventually they moved me into ICU. Again, very, very, very little memory about what that even was, what was happening there. And they put me on, I don't know, well, I was on 18 liters of oxygen,
Yep.
which is the most that they can give you at 100%. So literally there was nowhere to go except the vent if I messed up. And it was completely on me to manage my breathing, make sure I stayed above 90% saturation, and fought like hell. So I did not go on that vent because I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. You know, I couldn't leave my family. I couldn't leave this earth. This wasn't the way it ended for me. It just didn't make sense. You know, none of this made any sense. And so I did. I literally beat all the odds by fighting through. So when I first got there, I was received by a nurse whose name was Richard, who ended up being my nurse my night nurse for the next 5 nights. I made the saying that said, while I was in the hospital, I always had the right nurse for the right moment. And that's the absolute truth. Because I was there for so long, obviously I went through a huge rotation of different nurses, got to know them all pretty well, and they me pretty well. And they all brought something to the table that I needed at that time. So, well, the first night was kind of quick with Richard. I didn't spend a ton of time with him. I did spend the next 4 nights with him. And he really helped me to understand how what I put into my body, as far as food goes, was really going to help my lungs to recover. So I couldn't eat much. I was on a liquid diet. So Roger actually brought me protein shakes every day. No sugar protein shakes is what I was drinking. And I think the first one, I don't even think I got through a quarter of the first one, because it was so much. And the second one, I think it took like 6 hours to drink it all. And the third one, I think I got through pretty quickly, because obviously I was getting better every day. But that was important information, and I'm not the best at making decisions about putting the right things in my body for my health. Sure. And so, you know, that was what he helped me with. And then when Richard went home, I met Megan. And Megan was going to be my day nurse for the next 5 days. I don't know why. I don't know why I ended up with Megan, but I'm just grateful that I did. There was just a kindness and love in her that I couldn't have expected from a stranger. And she did. She genuinely loved me and got me through those first horrible days. Sitting with me, holding my hand, talking to me, being honest with me and genuine, not mincing words, you know, just telling it like it is. And on the other hand, you know, talking to Roger and keeping him updated, letting him know, you know, where I'm at and things like that, because obviously we're not able to see each other, and it probably wasn't very coherent, especially based on some of the texts I that I wrote in those first few days.
You're a little out of it, but understandably.
So anyway, so those were the first nurses in that first week. And again, I was so lucky that they had both just started the rotation, so I had that consistency for a few days anyway, for 5 days,
Right.
that I felt really made a huge impact on me.
You mentioned also that you had to learn to be an advocate for yourself.
Yeah, that was hard. It was hard to ask for what I needed because I couldn't do anything myself. But I had to be honest about what I needed. I think it was the third night. I woke up in the middle of the night, and the night was always the scariest part because I didn't know what was going on, obviously. So it was really hard to fall asleep at night. So I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a doctor in the room. Never a good sign. And there were other people in the room too, but I can only remember seeing Richard and the doctor. And they said, you need to cough, you need to breathe, because if you don't, we're gonna have to put you on the vent. What I didn't know then, that I know now, is that in that hospital, they've only successfully invented 3 people since coronavirus. So I went back to the words of the nurse in COVID PCU, and I said, no, just give me some time. Let me fight and give me a chance anyway to get through this. And for whatever reason, the doctor trusted me and listened to me, because I think we were really close to doing that. And I did. And I fought through it, and I got through it. And that was the game changer, was that moment, because that's really where things could have gone terribly, terribly bad.